The Seattle Mariners just continue to keep rolling. They win another game. They win another series. The Mariners defeat the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight 3-1 to improve to 15-12 on the year, and they remain in first place in the American League West. What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome in to the Seattle Mariners post-game recap. As always, before I get started, do me a favor, hit that like button. You guys are helping me out so much. Thank you to all the support. I can't tell you how much it helps out the video and the channel. And again, thank you to all the new and old subscribers, about 27 new subscribers yesterday for my post-game recap. I cannot thank you guys all enough for all the support you've given the channel, all the comments as well. I love it. Love the engagement. Listen, I always say, it can be therapeutic to talk about losses, but man, it feels good to talk about some wins too. And this team has been a lot of fun. So if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Maybe you're just lurking, you like watching the videos, hit that sub button. It helps me out tremendously, and it's a free, easy way to help support my channel. So thank you guys all so much. It wouldn't be happening without you. And man, if they can keep this going, how much fun are we going to have this year? How much fun are we going to have? Like I said, the Mariners win tonight 3-1 over the Diamondbacks. George Kirby just absolutely tremendous tonight. I'll dive into all of it. The offense does just enough, and the team just continues to roll. 15-12 now, starting to get in that territory where they're starting to get, a little bit of separation from 500. When I talked about in April, if you can kind of hang around 500, you should be in decent shape. Now they're kind of pulling away a little bit from that, which is a good thing. Banking wins when you can. I've always talked about, Texas last year is a perfect example. They got really hot in April, May. The Mariners quite aren't at that level yet overall. And then, if you have a little bit of a dive in the summer, like this team's going to lose some games. They're going to lose a series again eventually. It's going to happen. It's baseball. You play 162, but you can bank in these wins, and then those series losses don't quite hurt as much, and you'll get back on track and get rolling again. So real quick, I do want to let you guys know I have a video up talk about the Matt Brash news, that he's going to be out indefinitely. I actually am glad I made another video of it because I really don't want to, this game was such a positive. I don't want to, spend a lot of time talking about something that's just, unfortunate and kind of bad news for the team. So check out that video if you kind of want my thoughts on the Matt Brash injury news, which very unfortunate. But I do think this team has the pieces to overcome it. And, we don't know anything yet. So hopefully Brash is back this year as well. Man, George Kirby was just, that's as good of a game as I've seen a pitcher pitch. I mean, just absolutely incredible. 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, no earned runs. Obviously, no earned runs of no runs. Duh. 1 walk, 12 strikeouts, lowers the area to 4.18 on the season. 23 swings and misses from George Kirby. A couple weeks ago, couple Sundays, Luis Castillo got 23 swings and misses from the Cubs, which at the time tied for the highest amount of swing and misses from a starting pitcher in baseball. I'll be honest, I don't know if someone else has passed that in the last couple weeks. But if not, George Kirby just tied Luis Castillo. This pitching rotation is just insane. It is so, so good. I mean, even Emerson Hancock. I mean, outside that Milwaukee series, he's been fantastic. There are teams out there that Emerson Hancock would easily be their number 2. And there's probably some teams Emerson Hancock would be their number 1, to be perfectly honest. But I'm trying to be a little modest about the team right now. But, I mean, he's a number 5. I'm like, ooh, it's going to be a tough one with Hancock. He's been tremendous. Logan Gilbert goes tomorrow. We just had a George Kirby masterclass tonight, and we get to turn the ball over to Logan Gilbert tomorrow. No big deal. Just a guy that I think is probably the Cy Young frontrunner so far this season. Oh, and then once Logan's done, you go to Bryce Miller, who's been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. And then it's Luis Castillo. I mean, who's finally getting dialed in for the season. I mean, just a tremendous, tremendous rotation. And listen, I know there's something like in their last 12 starts, they have like a 1.45 ERA or something. Obviously, of course, it's not going to be that low all year, but the offense should start to pick up a little bit too. So the rotation's still going to be really good, and you should get better performance from the offense going forward. So, I mean, I think it'll all balance out when it's all said and done. But yeah, I'm talking about other pitchers. I'm not talking about George Kirby. That first inning, he was actually not too far away from an immaculate inning in the first inning. He strikes out Jake McCarthy, then gets Lourdes Gurriel and Ketel Marte, I think, strikes out the side on 12 pitches. Marte fouled off a couple. Otherwise, it would have been a 10-pitch, 3 strikeout innings. So a great way to open for Kirby. He was touching 97. I think I saw one at 99 in that first inning. And what was so good about this outing from Kirby was, that first inning, it was fastball, 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 and the D-backs weren't catching up. In the second inning, Christian Walker had a really nice at-bat, fouled off a bunch of fastballs, lined a base hit with like a 113 exit velo up the middle. And, Kirby did a nice job mixing in some more sinkers, went to that slider a little bit more. There was a pitch he struck out Ketel Marte on a two-seamer or sinker. I don't know what you want to classify it as. It was just beautiful backdoor, or I guess that wouldn't be backdoor, that'd be front door, because Marte is a left-handed hitter, but just caught the inside corner. It was just a beautiful pitch. I don't remember if it was the 5th or 6th inning. But yeah, after such a fastball-heavy first inning, Kirby still used it, but really started relying on the breaking ball too. And I think it really threw off the D-backs. I think after that first inning, they were really just sitting fastball, thinking they could, try to time it up. And, that's kind of been one of the things with Kirby. If you had to have like one negative, not tonight, but in general, he's so in the strike zone that I think it does lend himself to have just some of the outings we see every now and then from Kirby where he's given up 6-7 runs or something like that. They're very rare. But it does happen to him occasionally. I think it's because he's so in the zone. He was obviously in the zone today. By in the zone, I mean in the strike zone, not just like mentally in the zone, though I'm sure he was in that as well. But 95 pitches, 71 strikes. So he's certainly throwing tons of strikes, but it wasn't just over the middle. He was painting the corners. I mean, he got a couple calls from the home plate umpire, Chad Whiston, who actually had a great game that he called when the Mariners played the Cubs a couple weeks ago. He wasn't as good tonight, but one thing that makes Kirby so effective is he hits his spots. So even though it might be a ball, he's putting that ball right where Cal Raleigh's calling for it. So you're going to get the benefit of some strike calls. I'm not trying to excuse poor umpiring or anything like that, but that's just one of the things that makes George Kirby, so effective and efficient. So, I mean, just an absolute gem from Kirby. And also, the 12 strikeouts, a career high. Can't believe I haven't mentioned that yet. Talked about the swing and misses. He was out like 60 something pitches through 4 innings. He was getting the strikeouts, but the D-backs were fouling off some pitches. They were making him work a little bit. And I was kind of sitting there going, this is great, but I think we're only going to get like 5 innings out of Kirby tonight. Or maybe 5 1/3, 5 2/3. And we're going to have to turn over the pen in a 0-0 game. And, we'll see what happens. But then he just, 2 or 3, the 5th and 6th, really quick innings, efficient. It's like he changed his game mid-game. It's like strikeouts and, I need to get some quick outs so I can pitch 7 innings. And I'm sure that's not like, it's not that easy to just be like, now I want to get quick outs and I'm going to do that. But just for Kirby to go from the strikeouts to the efficiency so quick and then get them through 7 innings. And, we talked about like this bullpen has been great, but you feel a little bit iffy maybe, without Brash and Santos back there. And I can't keep saying that now because I don't know when we're going to get Brash back. Hopefully Santos will come back here soon. But, so it's so key to get those guys through 7 innings and didn't have to go to 100 pitches or anything like that. Then you can turn it over to Spire, Stanek, Munoz, Thornton and stuff and really lock these games down. So cannot say enough about George Kirby. I think that's one of the best pitch games in baseball this season. And I know the Diamondbacks lineup has had some inconsistencies and they've had some games where they've been amazing. And I know they've, listened to their broadcast, which I have to do out here because I'm in Arizona. And I said it last night, Berthiem and Candiotti are really good announcers. So I do enjoy listening to them. Like I said, I know they've talked about some inconsistencies with this offense. That's a good lineup. Jake McCarthy's a decent hitter. Lourdes Gurriel, Ketel Marte, who I can't believe I forgot. I was talking about Mariner D-backs connections last night. I don't know how I forgot to mention Marte, former Mariner. Christian Walker, Jock Peterson's a good hitter. Gino, Gabriel Moreno, Corbin Carroll. I know Carroll's off to a slow start, but this is a guy that was, an MVP last year, an MVP frontrunner. Did he win the MVP? Who did win the MVP in the NL last year? Great. Now I got to look this up. Sorry, guys. 23 NL MVP. Acuna won it, but Carroll was in the discussion for a lot of the year. And I know he's off to a slow start this year, but my point being that that's a good lineup. That is a good Diamondbacks lineup. And Emerson Hancock last night and George Kirby tonight, just absolutely fantastic. Ryan Stanek came in, pitched the 8th, got 2 really quick outs. And then he proceeded to walk. Is it Blaze Alexander? Is that who that? Yeah, Blaze Alexander and Slade Saccone and Blaze Alexander, just two great names that I would think would be like villains in a 90s movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything like, hey, Slade Zaccone's men's have got the bomb code, stuff like that. And Blaze Alexander is his number one henchman. But you guys like, what the heck is Jay going on about? But just some cool names in baseball. But anyway, Stanek walked Alexander, then gives up the triple to Jake McCarthy, ends up getting Gurriel out on a line out. A little disappointing because two really quick outs for Stanek there in the eighth. You don't like that you allow the tying run to come up to the plate there. Does a nice job to get Gurriel and get out of that inning. Stanek, I wouldn't be lying if I was totally confident. I mean, the numbers have been fine, Stanek, and he's hitting 99, but he's had trouble locating that breaking ball and sometimes trouble finding the breaking ball, locating it and getting that right, break on it. Then the fastball command can be iffy. I wouldn't mind seeing Gabe Spire get more of those spots. Now, a 3-0 game, really, you shouldn't be super worried. Your win probability is pretty high on that. But I wouldn't mind kind of, even against righties, seeing Gabe Spire more in kind of that eighth inning, pre-Munoz type role. I know they don't really look at it like closer and setup man. It's, Munoz is going to face the best three hitters in the lineup. Stanek's going to get either the ninth or eighth, depending on when those guys come up. And then Spire's going to kind of play him with the matchups and stuff in between there. But I wouldn't mind seeing Gabe Spire kind of get a little bit more of those situations. Stanek's been fine. Still a great addition, especially with the news today with Brash. You're certainly happy to have him. But I think Spire's a better reliever, and I wouldn't mind Spire getting more of those higher leverage. Not that Spire's not getting high leverage situations. He's pitching in plenty. But I think you guys kind of know what I'm getting at. Like Spire over Stanek, maybe, is what I'm getting at. Munoz, a nice, smooth ninth inning. Marte gets a pretty solid line drive off him, but Julio is there. Strikes out. Who did he strike out? Christian Walker, and then gets Jock Peterson to pop up for a 1-2-3 ninth inning. Bullpen does its job. Anytime you can hold a team to one run, as a pitching staff, you are doing your job, and they continue to be lights out at the back end of the bullpen and the starting pitching. Let's move on to the offense, which not is good today. But I will say Slade Saccone, right? That's I want to say Saccone, but I think it's Saccone. Whatever. Slade, my man Slade. I didn't do a series preview on the D-backs, and I don't know much about Saccone coming into this game. He impressed me. I thought he threw the ball really, really well. Last week the Mariners faced the Rockies, and Cal Quantrill shut down the Mariners for 6 innings. Wasn't impressed. Not trying to take away from Quantrill or anything. These guys are all professional baseball players. But he walked a lot of guys, gave up some hard hits, and the Mariners just couldn't punch a run across. Saccone, I thought, threw the ball really, really well. His slider early on was he was painting it. There was nothing you could do. They were strikes, and they were unhittable strikes. I mean, just absolute paint. He was getting enough location with the fastball to be effective and really mowed down the Mariners lineup. They were able to squeak a run off him off the Mitch Garver double and the Luke Raley base hit. And then I thought they had another run. Josh Rojas hit a line drive into the gap, but a great play by Corbin Carroll to glide over and make that catch. I thought for sure that was pegged for center field. He started to lose a little bit of bite on his slider. You saw more of him missing later in the game, and I think that helped allow the Mariners to get that run on the board. Not that one run is, a great performance or anything as an offense, but, the slider, he wasn't hitting that bottom part of the zone. Early on, he was really touching, to righties. He was just painting, the bottom half of the zone there and just tying up the hitters. Started missing with a little bit more as the game went along. And then the Mariners get to the D-backs bullpen and put up a couple runs and finish the game off. So, listen, the Mariners offensive performance tonight wasn't good, but I do think this is a tip the cap moment to the other starting pitcher. I talk about that all the time. That's why I brought up the Rockies with Quantrill. That was not a cap tip moment. Again, not taken away from anybody, but Quantrill wasn't good and the Mariners offense wasn't good, and they just couldn't get that big base hit. Saccone was good. I thought he threw the ball really well, and I think he deserves some praise for his outing today. And listen, it's easier to do that when your team wins, right? Had the Mariners lost, I mean, I wouldn't have been too up in arms. They've been playing good ball and you'd have a chance to win the series tomorrow. But, I'd definitely be a little more frustrated with it. When you're able to pull out a W, things can be forgiven a lot quicker. So I'm not trying to say, oh, whatever, forget a poor offensive performance. But last night with Gallen and tonight with Saccone, I do think the D-backs deserve a little bit of credit. I thought both guys threw the ball well. I don't think it's an indictment on the Mariners offense. Let's look at the box score from the offense and I'll get out of here. Rojas was 0 for 4. Like I said, did have that line drive in the 5th inning that I thought for sure was pegged for the gap, and it was with 2 outs. It would have scored Luke Raley easily. Excuse me, but Corbin Carroll just shows off his range, and just the way how smooth he was able to run and get into that ball was really impressive. Julio is 0 for 3 with the walk. Cal 0 for 4. Mitch 0 for 2. He had the walk. That was when Ciccone started losing the strike zone a little bit. Got to a 3-2 count on Haniger and just kind of buried a slider that he couldn't get on that bottom half of the zone there. Polanco over 2 with the walk. Polanco's kind of cooled off. He was getting hot there for a while, and his bat slowed down a little bit. He's still walking. I mean, you can peg Jorge Polanco for 1 or 2 walks every night. He did have a bit of a line drive, I think, in the 4th or something that it wasn't hit all that hard, 82 exit velo, but it had a 680 expected batting average on it. So you can make a case he was robbed of a hit, but would like to see his bat get going a little bit. It looked like it was turning around there a couple weeks ago, and then it's kind of cooled back off again. How about Ty France showing off a little dad power? 1 for 3 with the 2-run home run. Really opened up the game once Ciccone came out and Jarvis came in, and Jarvis just struggled, couldn't throw strikes. And Ty France knocks out his 2nd home run of the year and his 2nd home run in 3 games. We've talked about Ty. I'm not going to pull it up right now just because I don't want to pull it up, but his Savant page is immaculate. It's a lot of red. He's barreling balls up, hitting the ball hard, find the sweet spot. The profile looks good. The results haven't quite been there yet, but you can see the last few games, he's hitting the ball hard still, and he's got a couple home runs to show for it. I talk about it like we can't just look at Savant and go, oh, Ty's fine. That's the end all be all. There's more that goes into it. You got to pass the eye test too. And I wasn't sure. I tend to lean towards the data because the data doesn't have like a bias. I'm not saying that the data's perfect, but I'm a Mariners fan. So when guys struggle, I get frustrated. And when guys do well, I'm going to pump them up a little bit more. The fact that I mentioned like the Mariners have 5 Cy Young candidates in the rotation, probably not really the case, but I'm a fan. So I'm going to be a little bit biased towards them. The data's not. The data's just going to give you the numbers. Now you can choose what you want to do with those numbers for sure. But they're saying Ty's pretty good and that he should start getting it turned around and the power's coming back a little bit. So I'm going to tend to believe those. And listen, even if it wasn't, with Garver still struggling a bit, Raley, Polanco, all these guys off to a bit of a slow start, JP being out, you kind of need Ty France. You can't really do anything with Ty right now anyways. I know those guys don't all play the same position, but Ty's got like the 3rd best OPS in the offense right now, even with some of the struggles. So he's going to have to play every day, regardless of what you think. But I do think Ty's going to start to get this turned around and already has a little bit here in the last few days. So keep hitting the ball hard and good things will happen. Maybe that's the quick, easy way to say that. Mitch Garver, 1 for 3, had a double, scored the run on the Luke Raley single. Listen, solid, we'll take it. Garver with the home run yesterday, an extra base hit today. Maybe starting to get it turned around. I think we all want that like 4 for 5 game with a couple doubles and a home run. It doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes it happens gradually, a little slower. I'm not going to complain about 2 extra base hits in the last 2 days for Garver, considering that's probably about what he had coming into this series on the season. So good to see Garver driving the ball a little bit. Luke Raley, couple hits, the nice bunt single. He's done a real good job of that. That's the 2nd or 3rd time he's had a bunt base hit down the 3rd base line. Take advantage of it. Raley's got good speed. Get him on the base paths. He had a stolen base tonight. I have no problem with that. Listen, if you can get a single and bunt down 3rd base line every time, you will be the greatest player to ever play baseball. So good to see. And then that base hit that scored Garver, which was hilarious because I made the comment on Twitter that 1, that play looked like it was happening in slow-mo. And 2, it was like everybody was running in mud. Garver looked slow because he kind of went back to second. Then Manny sent him home, and I'm going, oh no, he's going to be out by a mile. Jake McCarthy looked slow getting the ball. His throw looked slow. Garver like lumbered into home, sliding late. The throw was weak from McCarthy. It looked like somebody put a slow-mo replay on or put everybody's feet in cement for that play, but it got the Mariners the run. So not going to complain and good to see from Luke Raley. And then Dylan Moore 0 for 3. I'd like to see Rivas get a shot tomorrow at shortstop. I think Dylan Moore should get the majority of the at-bats regardless, but let's get Rivas a shot in there and let him play a little bit and see what he can do. Demo's been fine. but I think they'll do that tomorrow. Rayleigh's getting most of the playing time over Clase, and I will continue to say this. Like, I'm fine with that, by the way. I would play Luke Rayleigh, I think better track record, probably right now a better player than Jonathan Clase. But if you're not going to play Clase, probably send him back down. And I do wonder if that's going to happen here soon. Rayleigh's starting to heat up a little bit, having better at bats, making better contact. Rayleigh should be getting the majority of that bats. I know you may want a platoon, and like I said, stupid me the other day not remembering that Clase was a switch hitter, so they could be doing something like that. But you've still got Dylan Moore who could do that. Rivas could play short. Urias can even slide in there somewhere in the infield, and you can make that work. So I don't know. I just think I think your better bet is having like a Samad Taylor or a Cade Marlowe up or a Sam Haggerty in that role. If that's all Clase is going to do, I'd rather have him playing every day and going with one of those guys. And then you don't feel bad about not getting them at bats. Like, I don't care if Sam Haggerty doesn't get at bats or Samad Taylor. You know what I mean? Clase's a legitimate prospect, number 10 prospect in the Mariners organization. Now, I'm not a big like, oh my gosh, you're ruining this guy by not playing him every day. But if you're not going to, I think he should be playing every day. And the best place can do that is probably going to be in Tacoma. Great win for the Mariners, 15-12. Texas lost today. I know it's still April, but I'm sorry. I'm excited. They're in first place. Sue me. I certainly am a firm, I will certainly acknowledge and be firm that is very early in the year. Tons of baseball left. This division is not going to be an easy cakewalk for the Mariners to win. But again, better to be 15-12 and a game and a half up right now than, 9-17 and 8 games back or something like that, right? Like, they're certainly in a good spot and they all count as one. And if we go to the Fangraphs playoff odds, their odds winning the division likely went up today. So, I'm a firm believer. I preached it was early when they were 6-10. So I should be preaching the same thing now that they're playing really good ball. And it's easier to get swept away when your team is playing really well. But, we are starting to get into the second month. We're starting to get into May. We're, a few weeks away from the dog days of summer. And, they're playing good ball. The pitching has just been tremendous. And we still haven't seen the offense. It's had stretches and it's been a lot better. But we still really haven't seen a Julio breakout, a Jorge Polanco breakout, a Mitch Garver breakout, a Luke Rayleigh breakout. Now, there's a chance you don't get those. We can't guarantee everything, but their track records would tell you that we will, and those guys are going to hit. And certainly the starting pitching, like I said, I think it's like a 1.5 ERA over the last 10 or 11 games. That's going to drop off a little bit, but the offense should come up with that. And this pitching's still really good. Even if it drops off a little bit, it's still a tremendous staff. So great win for the Mariners. Let's keep the good vibes rolling. Hopefully get a sweep tomorrow. We can talk about a team that's 4 games over 500. And I talked about that 9-game stretch, Texas, Arizona, Atlanta. They are now 4-1. And I said 5-4 would be fine. I will say I'm kind of going to move that to 6-3 now because 4-1 would be, 5-4 now be 1-3 over the next 4 games. And, I would like to have a little bit better now that you started 4-1. But even if they did end at 5-4, I would still take a step back and go, that's a pretty solid stretch against those 3 teams. So tomorrow, members only live stream. If you're not a channel member, think about joining. There will be a contest giveaway. If you become a member, check the community tab there. It'll have the info on the contest. Mariner Sir will be joining me tomorrow for our first weekly recap. Should be fun, even if the Mariners lose tomorrow, which I hope they don't. Even if they do, it's going to be a 4-2 week. So we're going to have a lot of positives to talk about with this team. And he'll be also joining me maybe sometime next week or the week after for the monthly recap, where we're really going to dive into each player, look at the Savant pages, look at their value on Fangraphs, and see, how these guys perform. Because I haven't really looked at that too much. I usually like to give it a month, but it's time to start diving into some of those numbers as well. Remember to hit that like button, hit subscribe. Don't be afraid to use that promo code JS Trident on SeatGeek. Have a great night, everybody. Enjoy this W. Go Mariners. See you guys tomorrow. Take care. Peace.